And good afternoon to all the kin folks. It's good to see y'all and welcome. And hopefully we'll have us a good old time tonight. Let's see who we got in here tonight. We got Miss Nisi. Welcome in. It's good to see you. Thanks so much. And Karen, so good to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. And we got Rachel. So good to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. It's good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you, Betty. Thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate it. And Phillips, good to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate it. Trish, thanks so much for coming in. It's always good to see you. Carolyn, so good to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. Danette, thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate it. It's good to see you. And Daryl, thanks so much. Good to see you and appreciate each and every one of y'all coming in. Hopefully, we got us a neat little show coming up tonight. Just hanging out and talking with each other. And then, of course, sharing the floor a few more of them good old spooky stories that we rounded up. I always like hearing them. Appreciate everyone that's come out, ever sent stories in. We appreciate that. That's ultra awesome, super special. We sure appreciate that. It's been a week. I actually got to go today to get a few more parts for that stove that I bought back, I don't know, I guess maybe a week ago or so. We have this super duper long yard sale that travels along the edge of the highway and it goes on for hundreds of miles. But I just went, right here around my hometown, a little stretch. And the day before it started, we were actually driving out to go do a little hiking and went down to a little place that we go hiking to and happened to be able to gather up some good old yellow root and get it drying for me to sell. And gather some of that. Well, on the way back, I noticed that at a house, a man had a trailer set up with a bunch of old iron stuff, much like some of the stuff that we got behind us here. Let's see. Welcome in, May. So good to see you. Appreciate it. Welcome in. And usually when I see that old iron, it catches my eye and I want to stop. But that day it was kind of later in the afternoon. It wasn't time to start or anything. So the official start of that yard sale would be the next day. And I went and got me a little cash and had it in my pocket. And we just kind of stopped at a few places. And then we got there. And I went up to the trailer just kind of walking around. And I spotted that stove. And oh man, I wanted that thing so bad. We've been talking about for at least 2 years putting another old wood heater stove type thing in there in case, during the cold months, something happens to the propane that my dad has. We've always going to have the wooden heater as a backup. Last year, he almost ran out. The ice and the snow and the sleet kept the propane trucks off the road, and he almost ran out. So that really cemented, I really need to get one. And I went to look at a few different options, and they ran from $400 to $600 to $800. And I was like, my goodness, I really can't afford that. But I saw the stove in that trailer, and I asked him, how much you got to have for this? And he said, $50. And I was like, $50? That's not bad. Thanks so much, Tarsha, for coming in. It's good to see you. Welcome. And I kind of walked away from it at first. I told him, I said, well, I really like to have it, but in order to be able to use this, I need all the parts. And I said, it's missing the whole top. It has a 2-piece top, I think, on it. It's got the body, and then it has an insert that actually holds the little eyes. And the insert that holds the eyes were gone. And he said, "Oh, I've got them. They're underneath it." And I looked, and sure enough, there it was. So I went and put it together and looked it over. And I said, "I think I'll give you $50." So I paid him and uh, put it in my put it in the back of the car and drove home and uh, got it. I went and before I went home, I stopped by another place that was selling tools, and he had a little wire wheel that goes on a grinder, and I bought it from him for just $1 to clean that old stove up because it was really covered in rust and flaky. Just it was terrible shape, but got it cleaned up, and that thing was well used. And usually when you get well used ones, they got damage, and that one has some damage, but I just so happen to know somebody that can fix it. So I got to make a repair at the top. The main top has a crack in it. I can fix that easily. Just push it back together, weld it back together. The front face of it's got a crack that's been repaired before, but it wasn't repaired right. So I'm going to clean that up and repair it correctly. And was able to go online and order a few parts that was missing. Let's see. Welcome in, Big Mike. Thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. But so I was able to get a few parts for it. Welcome in, Crossover Paranormal Society. It's good to see. Thanks so much. It has some. It's like multiple pieces kind of sandwiched together, and it's held by these big long bolts. Those were in bad shape. Some of them were broken and just kind of rigged. And I went on the website, the manufacturer of that thing, and they actually had some parts. So I ordered a few of the bolts that were broken, and the little latch that goes on the door was missing. So I ordered those. And I went today and got the little damper that goes in the top, and I bought some of the little fire bricks that goes inside of it to where you can put the wood in it, but it'll keep it right off of the iron where it'll last a lot longer. Got that going, and I have some that black. It's kind of like a dye. You put it on the metal and it soaks in, so it's going to make it look like brand new. The picture that I took, I had just soaked it in penetrating oil and let it break down any kind of the old rust that was on there and kind of got that off. But when I get a hold to it with this polish, it'll look like the day it was made. So we're getting it ready for this winter's when maybe Christmas Day we can be sitting around that old thing, opening presents and have a big old pot of beans and a pot of coffee going on top of it. So super excited about that. Dad was excited about it when I got it because he wanted one so bad he couldn't stand it, and we got it. We got it going on. We order them. Some stuff's expensive, so we have to save up and order as we go. But we'll be getting that thing ready and being able to use it this winter, hopefully. So that is always exciting, and then. That big old supper that I posted that short of, that was pretty awesome. We grew the corn, we grew the okra, and we grew the potatoes, and we grew what else did we have there? We grew the tomatoes, we grew the cucumbers, we grew the okra. Dad bought some ribs, and I cut those up and fried those in an old iron skillet. And made a homemade pan of biscuits. Oh, man. He ate on that. We ate lunch yesterday, and then he ate supper out of that, and then he ate breakfast out of that, too. He's been picking out on that stuff. So, and then today we just, we went to the park where we just go in like a little local grocery store that has like a deli and buy us a quick plate and go out and feed the ducks at the park after we're finished eating, and just had a good old time. And when you don't have much money and you can't afford to go anywhere, just simple things like that. Just get out of the house, sit there on the edge of the river and feed the ducks and eat a little lunch. Just have a good old time. You just can't beat it. So, like I said, we've had an interesting week, but just can't beat having fun. You guys don't forget that September the 21st, I think it is, or 22nd, is King Fest up there at the Panther Mountain Park or Panther Creek Park, whatever that is, up there in Morristown, Tennessee. Y'all don't forget that. Donnie Laws and Jared's going to be there. Normally, oh yeah, Niecy's right, the 20th. Normally, me and Autumn are get to go, but this year it's the wrong time of year. Usually, it's a better time for us to go in the spring than it is the fall. So, yeah, absolutely. Most of the time in the springtime, everybody's got their income taxes, so it wouldn't be hard just to take off for a little 3.5 hour trip, rent a car and rent a hotel room for a couple of days and explore and film, just have a good old time. But toward the end of the year, all that money's gone, so it's hard to scratch up enough to take off and do something like that. So, but we'll be there in heart, mind, and soul, and of course, my son will be in the corner somewhere. But whatever. There's always next year. Carolyn says she got 10 kiddos. She has to cook a big supper every night. Yep. Now, I used to, it was 4 or 5 of us when my brothers was at home, but there ain't, but now it's just dad because mom passed away. But I don't really get to go there and eat supper with him very much because the time I get off of work, I'm so tuckered out, I don't even feel like cooking supper. So he convinced me to come over there and fry those ribs up and just have a big old supper. And boy, it was so good, man. Can't beat that good corn on the cob and all that stuff. But had a good time doing it. And yeah, I wish we could go to King Fest this year. We're not going to be able to make it, but like I said, we'll watch the live stream and just have a good old time. And I can aggravate Laura from here. I don't even have to be there. So that's why she put that sign up that I'm in the corner, because I'm always picking at her there at King Fest. But like I said, maybe next year though they can have it in the springtime and we'll get to go hang out. I noticed that they put that poll up. Jared put a poll up, wanting to know where he had like 4 different places, like South Carolina, West Virginia, Georgia, and Kentucky, I think. And it looked like, I think it was South Carolina was the pick the last time I looked at it. So who knows? They're moving it around every year, so who knows? It might be close enough to where you can actually go. So yeah, I think should be able to be live streamed. Last year it being in McMinnville, that's one reason why they're not doing it there, because there is no internet reception whatsoever in that town. Sometimes it's a miracle that he can even do a live stream at home, because sometimes, boy, that internet there is, you have to wait till like 1 o'clock in the morning for it to even get full bars of internet reception. So I think out there in East Tennessee where they're doing it, there's pretty good reception out there, so they'll be able to do it. And just have a good old time. I sure wanted to meet Donnie Law so bad I couldn't stand it, but like I said, they'll be next year. But alrighty, let's get me off this old screen here and let's read a couple of stories here. This one is entitled Mr. Fix It. And it goes like this. We live in an old home that was built in 1893 by a man named J.W. Reed. The home was originally built as a single family home, but was converted into a duplex in 1955. We moved into the house somewhere in 1992 after it was empty for many, many years. Immediately, we began noticing some very strange things. Every morning at 4:30, we could hear what sounded like a radio talk show coming from what was the kitchen downstairs, and could faintly hear someone shuffling around. But when we would get up to investigate, we found nothing. It was obvious that whoever that was a male getting up every morning to go to work. My husband takes a great deal of pride in his tools and had set up a small workshop in one of the old bedrooms. This obviously did not please this apparent old man because he would toss the tools all around, usually ending up on the floor. Now we find his tools are ending up missing. However, I do believe he seems to like me. I had an old wringer washer in the basement that I loved very much, and it was acting up. So I jokingly remarked to the ghost, "Please fix my washer." Strangely enough, he did. My refrigerator door needed adjustment. My husband, the great procrastinator, would never find the time to fix it. All I had to do was ask the ghost, and mysteriously, that door was fixed. My husband and I had a huge fight one day, as most couples do, but evidently the ghost thought he was going to harm me because he grabbed my husband. We have a shower in the basement. When you go down, you can smell very faintly roses, like a cream cachet, and sometimes you can smell something baking, mostly brownies or some kind of chocolate cookie. So we know that a woman is also here. Upstairs in what used to be a nursery, there was a little boy. He plays with my dog and cat, but I also think there is a man who is there too. My 3-year-old granddaughter entered the room because she thought a man was there, but when she went in and said, "You're not Grandpa," and left. When we asked who she was talking to, she said, "The man in there, he's not Grandpa." She is afraid to go into my kitchen because she says there are ghosts. There are things continuously missing or moved. They even took my dentures, strangely of all. I still cannot find them. But thank God I have dental insurance. There are just a few These are just a few things that happened in my house. They don't harm us, but do things that are irritating, like moving and misplacing things. My goodness, that is absolutely crazy. Could you imagine living in a house built in 1893 and then having the work done to it, and uh, then all of a sudden things start happening, things come up missing, and the dentures of all things? I guess the old man thought, I can't have no teeth, neither can you. Who knows? That's funny. Wheels don't fail me now. That's great. Yeah, yeah. Like Jared says, sure am brave, but my feet don't know it. They took off running and just dragging me behind. Oh, me, that's great. I often find that old houses that date back like that have some strange things going on, and apparently, whoever uh, built that house just absolutely loved it and did not want to let go or let anybody move in or change anything, which happens. But what a story! All right, now this next one is a haunting from Ohio. It says, I have a few encounters I would like to share. In 1965, my grandparents bought a house that was built in 1850. At one time, this house was involved in the Underground Railroad. I know that there were a few deaths in the house. As far as we can tell, there were only four owners. My grandparents were the last until 10 years ago when they sold it. I should tell that it was also built on an Indian burial ground. I tell you one of my dad's stories first. When mom and dad were dating, my mom would come over and play cards. One such occasion, my dad went upstairs to use the restroom. While he was in there, he heard a little bathroom door shaking. So he was scared and decided to get out of there. By the time he got to the other door, the little door flew open. And I should add that this door was incredibly hard to open. Dad flew down the stairs and saw that everyone was still in the kitchen. On a regular basis, the rooms would get cold and you would smell lilac perfume. They always said, Agnes is here. My uncle was awakened one night by his bed shaking violently. Something was breathing heavily in his ear. Understand that my aunt was walking past one bedroom and heard a baby crying. They did not have any babies at the time. For as long as I can remember, we were afraid to go upstairs alone. I don't know anything in particular that happened to my twin sister, but my oldest had an encounter two separate times. Once, she was told to go into the living room, and on her way through the dining room, a lady stopped her and wouldn't let her go in. Another time, she was holding a ball and something took it right out of her hands. I had two encounters myself. There was a double bed and a single bed in our room. My sisters were mean to me, they wouldn't let me sleep with them in the big bed. So I had to sleep over in the other bed. One night, I saw something outside the window. I think it was a man. I'm not sure, but I was terrified. Another time, I was home alone and the door to the stairs opened. These doors had very old latches on them. You had to lift the lever to get them open. I saw the lever lift and the door was pushed wide open. I never stayed home alone again. Once a plate flew out of the dish drain while Grandpa was in the kitchen. When my grandma moved a glass candy jar, it flew off the refrigerator. The house is empty now, which is a shame because it was a lovely big house. Okay. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this story, and we'll have to tell you another one later. My goodness, could you imagine that? This house was built in 1853. That's an old house. That's almost, what, 200 years old? And then having four people die in it? My goodness. It's absolutely insane. I wouldn't want to go uh, turn a corner and somebody be staring there at me because I think I'd faint. Just pass out right on the floor. Wouldn't know any better. Wouldn't know what hit me. Okay. But that's insane. You imagine uh, going downstairs and having the smell of like brownies coming through the kitchen when you go in there. There ain't nothing there, or go walking by a room and hearing a baby cry even though there's none in the house, or trying to walk into a room but then all of a sudden something won't let you enter. It's like it's holding you. My goodness, I don't know how long I could stay there. All righty. Now, this one's another story from Ohio, and it's called A Musical Ghost. Let's see. Chestnut Grove Cemetery. If that doesn't sound creepy enough, I don't know what does. I got curious one day and decided to go to an old cemetery. Curiosity killed the cat, you say. Well, fortunately, I'm not the cat. I live to tell my story. My stepmother and I decided to check out an old party spot her friends used to go there when they felt like a little scared. They came running back to tell all sorts of crazy stories. Guess she was too scared to see for herself. Years later, she told me about this cemetery in the valley. And of course, fearless me had to investigate. I don't believe anything unless I see it with my own two eyes. As we strolled to the back of the cemetery, looking at any random epitaphs we saw, 1800s to the 1900s, she stopped and I stopped. Do you hear that? She asked. Yeah, I hear it. With my own ears in broad daylight. What other than an organ playing? Now that cemetery, let's see. I hear with my own ears in broad daylight an organ playing. Now you know the story of Chestnut Grove Cemetery. My goodness. Could you imagine going and looking at just a plain old cemetery out in the middle of absolutely nowhere? Nobody ever visits it. You're just walking through and looking at the old dates and the old stones, the designs and the pictures, and reading the lovely little epitaphs written on each one. And then out of nowhere, you hear a pipe organ. My goodness, I think I'd have to go disappear somewhere. Welcome in, Tammy. It's good to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. Boy, howdy, howdy, howdy. That is the absolutely creepiest thing. I like old cemeteries because they're quiet and there's nobody around and there's so much history that lay there. Welcome in, Scully. So good to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. You know, each cemetery has its own little story, and each person has their own history, and you just don't never know who's there. So, today we got to go visit a pioneer cemetery that's so old there was no name on any of the stones, and all I had was field stones. And all that was visible was just three little simple indentions where you could see where a body had been buried, and a few little heads, field stones. That's all that was there. Pretty neat. Okay. All right. I'm going to read one last story. And, well, hello, Flying Squirrel. Thanks so much for coming, man. I didn't see you there. I apologize. This little story is called My Little Haunting. It says, I'll start with the death of my older brother, Chris. He died last March on the 17th. About 10 days ago, I began to see my brother in my room. I'd have conversations with him. At first, I thought I was hallucinating, but it began to happen every night around 1 o'clock in the morning. We had discussed things about me and him and death and the usual everyday things. 2 nights ago, I had a friend over and we were up in my room with the lights off talking. I have a mirror next to my bed. Both my friend and I saw a bright blue light come within the mirror. I flipped on the light and we ran downstairs. Now, the night before this, I told my roommate about my brother coming to see me. He noticed the mirror and told me to put a crack in it. And I took a hammer and cracked the lower right hand corner. That night, Chris came to me and he looked badly decomposed. Every other time he came, he looked as he did before he passed. But this night, he was all bloody and cut up. He told me that I was going to die in 27 days. Then he left. Now, the next night is when my friend and I saw the blue light. My roommate called one of his friends and had him come over. My roommate's friend and I went downstairs to see if anything was out of place. During that week, things in my room had been moved around, put in different places. My CD player had been tampered with every day. The CD kettle whistle was always in the player. I tested this out and put a Marilyn Manson in, and the next day when I got home from work, the kettle whistle CD was in the player once again. As I said before, we went up there to see if anything had been moved. Nothing was moved this time. My roommate's friend told me to remove a piece of my mirror to see what would happen. He happened to glance up and look across the hall to the window in the other bedroom. He saw a floating person at the window with red eyes and an angry smirk on his face. A thing about that room, there is no place that a person could stand and have leverage. I also have it is also 2 stories up. We ran downstairs into my roommate's room and shut the door. I was not going to sleep in my room, so we stayed up all night. For 3 hours, we heard footsteps in my room. My room is directly above my roommate's, and the bedroom, and all of us could hear it. We have 4 cats, but no cat made a sound. Yesterday, all of my things, I moved all of my things into the extra bedroom. Last night, I was on the phone with a close friend when I saw a figure walk by the living room window. No one was home but my roommate and I. He was asleep. I went into his room, told him what I saw. I guess he saw someone walk through his wall. At about midnight, I went to bed in my new room. I was still awake when when my brother came to talk to me once again. This time, he said, "Don't trust what you see upstairs." I noticed something that I hadn't noticed before. Chris had a silver pinky ring he wore all the time before he died. Last night, he was wearing it. All the other times, he was not. So, was that Chris coming to visit me all the other times? Or was something else there bothering me and my roommate all this time? And my brother came to warn me one last time. Ooh, Lordy, I think I'd have to find me a new house. I don't I don't like calling out to family members that's gone on at all. I don't do that because that to me it just seems like it's opening the door for something else or someone else to come talk to you that could make themselves look like your family member. And I'm not about that. I don't, no way, no how. So, mm-mm. I feel for her though. That's terrible losing a brother like that. You don't hardly ever get over it, and then when you got something that's portraying them coming to visit you, no way. But guys, I want to thank y'all so much for coming out and hanging out, spending a little time with the family, and listening to some of these creepy stories. Really, really, really appreciate you guys coming in. It's always good to see y'all. And again, I'll put that on the bottom of the screen. For anybody that's watching back later, you guys now, if you have any story you would like read or maybe a prayer request or just anything, just send it to Myers Tales of Appalachia at gmail.com that we have scrolling across the screen there. And guys, do not forget, in the mornings when you get up and drinking your coffee or at night when you're going to bed, say a little prayer for Miss Little May Steve, the alligator horse's little grandbaby. She's still in the hospital, still in the ICU. The PICU, however, the prenatal intensive care, just keeping a close eye watch on her as she recovers from that surgery that she had when she was only 4 hours old. So, as far as I know, she is doing good, but just keep all of them in your prayers because you know that has to weigh heavy, heavy, heavy on the mother and the father of the baby, and then of course Steve and his wife as grandparents. Uh, it really wear you down, and the hospital will wear you down even faster. Like I said, that week that my daughter was in the intensive care in Erlanger, my God, I swear I aged 10 years. Uh, I don't know how my wife dealt with that because she stayed with her all the time. And I had to go back and forth. It was nearly an hour drive to the house. So I had to drive home, take care of the house stuff. We had all the animals that we had to keep fed, and clothing and food and medicines. We had to come down here and get her medicine and bring it back. And that was stressing out, I'm telling you. Hospitals are not fun when you have to stay in them, that's for sure. You sure don't get to rest while you're there either, but like I said, keep them in your prayers. And of course, Queen Laura and Jared, keep them in your prayers too. Trying to keep their show on the road. And uh, when you're stressed out and you're hurting like Laura is and all that, when you finally get a good day, that's why Jared's doing these outdoor videos a little more, so that when she's having a good day, he's not having to stay in on the computer working on story videos. They can just go, get out, spend a little time out in nature, get some fresh air, get out and forget the troubles just for a little while, just explore nature and have a good time, and uh, come home and he can just slap those videos together. They don't take no time, where the editing on a story video may take, you know, 24 or 48 solid hours of writing and researching photographs and editing the videos. These other videos, they take less than an hour. That's including the filming normally. You can just put those together, get them on the road, and get them out there for you guys to watch. And then he can focus on taking care of the things that she's not able to do when she's having a bad day. He can cook and clean and do the errands that's got to be done, and he doesn't have to sit here staring at a computer with all that to do. So it kind of takes a little bit of the, a little bit of a break for him. Welcome in, Miss Sally. It's so good to see you. So, and myself, I've threw a couple of those videos in. I'm probably not going to do them as much as they are, but I just thought it was really neat when we got to go to that library, not the library, the Depot Museum, and then we found out there was an old encampment there. That was super cool. And then we actually have another location video coming out for y'all. Not this Saturday, but the next one, because this coming Saturday is going to be a history or some, a regular video like I do. And then the next week, we got to go out to a super cool location full of history and nature. And that'll be coming out the following week. And then I'm working on right now the video for that next week out. So we just have all kinds of stuff coming up. And, in the fall of the year, the temperature's not, you're not dying because of the heat. You can actually get out. We try to hit the woods a little bit more and try to find some historic sites that we can share. I like being able to do that too. So Uh, Probably, like I said, we ain't gonna be doing it as much as Jared does because you know I'm usually doing my video work at work on my lunch break and snack break. I'm just in there writing and researching and working, and uh, sometimes I'm laying here at home after work. Sometimes I don't feel good. Sometimes I feel okay. I'll have something going on the TV, and then I'll be over here just editing the videos. So anyway, we got some good stuff coming up, and like I said, don't forget, pray for each other. We all need some kind of prayers. Just remember each other every night, and like I said, we always love each other and love our little community that we have here because we can come in here and pray for each other and just have a good old time, good, clean fun. We don't have to worry about, you know, anything negative going on because if we find that, we get rid of that real quick. So, anyway, guys, we love y'all. And I guess until next week, we'll see y'all later. Bye, guys. Appreciate y'all. Thanks so much.